Oh,
like,
we're good.
And
Yeah,
like
that's
on our
what he's
one
figuring
ASMR,
out.
I had the video
Audio.
still on my phone, but like we were like crunching like stuff and like chewing on chips.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
This is actually comical.
I would be like,
Nothing
you
like
hear
panicking here.
Don't panic, Drew.
It's like that one day when the power went out and we had to move on.
That was awful. It went off this morning, our
Check,
power.
check.
Did it?
Yeah.
First day of school?
Mm-hmm. It went off this morning and Mom was like, you gotta be kidding me. My clothes were getting washed. Or like dried. My jeans I was wearing today, they were getting dried. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. I about got like 3rd-degree burn. I like pulled my jeans out.
Can
It was,
you
like,
ask
burning
him,
hot.
anybody, if they can hear us now?
My mom's probably watching.
Say their parents
I was about to say, my parents are tasting.
Because I can see it moving now.
Can you?
Mom.
Let's see.
All right.
Yes.
Oh.
They can hear you.
Yeah.
now can they hear us on this or this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's for like the headset's for YouTube.
Like
This
to
is,
hear
like,
each
if you
other?
were to listen to it on the radio.
Okay.
Oh.
See the difference?
Okay, yeah.
All right, here we go.
So that's why like he'll have to go to play commercials and stuff like what he's doing right now, and that's where I kept screwing up because I just kind of kept talking.
Blabbing.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wednesday night, the 23rd of August. And you know what Wednesday night in the fall means, folks? It means it is time for the Raider Review. First show of the season, and what would a first show be without pure, unadulterated chaos to begin? You know, you think you got everything put together, you think you know what you're doing. It's not the first time you've done it. And still, after years and years and years, you forget to turn the mics on. That happens from time to time. My name is Andrew Miller, about to be joined here in a little bit by my good buddy John Penna in studio. We'll have Coach Paul Burdett in studio as well coming up in a little bit to discuss the opening game of the 2023 Roane County High School football season as we hit the road all the way down to Shady Spring High School as we get set for the 2023 season, coming off of that that fantastic 2022 season. Before we get to that, though, I have a very special group of young ladies in studio with me today, and this was another one of those cockamamie last-minute decisions that I made that I tend to do, and it's good that I know people. It's specifically good that I know the head volleyball coach at Roane County High School, Miss Allie Peary. Thank you very much, Coach. I do appreciate you at the last minute. I don't know if this was optional or if you gave these young ladies the option or not. No, they're all shaking their head. This was not an option. This was a requirement. They didn't know that this was a requirement, but they found out real quick. We're very happy to be joined in studio by the 3 senior captains for the 2023 edition of the Roane County Lady Raider volleyball team. We have Olivia Moorhead, Haley Nicholson, and Piper Harlan in studio. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being patient with me as well. Let's get right into it. You guys are now the seniors. There's some other ones, but you guys are the captains on this team. Obviously, this is a sport that you 3 have played for quite a while. And I was talking with Olivia's mom randomly. Yeah, throw her under the bus right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I said, how long have these girls played together? Now, I know a couple of you have played a lot of softball together, but you guys have been on volleyball teams together for quite a long time. Olivia, where did this get started for the 3 of you?
Back in 6th grade at Gary. Actually, these 2 talked me into playing my 6th grade year, so that's where it all started.
You were not planning on playing volleyball?
I was thinking about it, but
She was
they
a
got me in
basketballer.
there. Yeah.
Really? Well, let me just say, I am extremely happy, as I'm sure Coach Peary is, that you decided to play some volleyball as well. You are the specialist on the team. Okay, you're going to teach me all these.
She's our setter.
I'm a setter.
Okay, listen, is specialist an actual term?
Setter, like that is her position. She's a setter.
Yeah, well,
Specialist
she's
is
a
like a defensive specialist.
Isn't setting defensive?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, what
Football term, she would be like the quarterback.
what I meant by that was she's a specialist in that she knows how to set the ball well. See, I took it back there. I took it right back. You are the setter on the team. That is an incredibly important position, as they all are. But what I found in my very small amount of time knowing, as you can tell, volleyball, it is very difficult to set the ball where it needs to be set in the right place. It is very difficult to do. You seem to do it most of the time with pretty much ease.
Yeah. Allie. I have my moments, but Allie really does. I don't know.
Well, Liv puts in the work.
Yeah,
The
I put in
off-season.
the work. She makes me do countless reps every day.
I'm
Yeah.
glad she's in studio that you guys
This
can
is hilarious.
Yeah.
We actually did a lot of work this past winter. And I brought her in, and she did a lot of reps that way, like individually. And that was her saying, hey, I want to come into the gym and work.
Well, that's a good thing because,
She's
again,
got that self-motivation.
yeah, if you're self-motivated to do what you need to do to get better individually off-season and out of the time that you're with the rest of the team, it really helps once you guys get together. Now, I know that everybody here is very busy, and so you're trying to split your all's time between sports. You're trying to split your time between other things that you all like to do. How much time are you guys able to get in the off season together as a group? Of course, there are flex day situations in the summer and things like that. Is there any time that you guys have at all in the off season? Because, well, I guess, is there any off season for you guys?
No,
No,
not
I
really.
mean,
It's
our
all the way around.
preseason is really like smackdown. Like all summer, we're working together.
Well, I know this. I know a couple of you guys play summer softball, obviously, so that takes a lot of time up as well. I'm sure Coach Peary loves that. We take it back though. 6th grade. Which one of you, was it Mahaley or Piper or both of you, that accosted her and talked her into playing?
I feel like it was Piper because of ABA.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. But then she
Well,
also
no.
played with me.
I'm pretty sure it was both of you because
Yeah.
after I played volleyball 6th grade, you and I started playing travel ball 7th grade.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was a bully-like situation. I can just picture it back in my
Peer
mind,
pressure.
where the
Yeah.
two of you are walking down the hallway in 6th grade like you own the place,
Yeah.
and then you push her over to the lockers.
What's funny is that Liv was the setter, but Liv was taller than us all throughout middle school.
Yeah.
Really?
For the most part.
Oh, you've never seen a picture of them?
Oh,
Li-
yeah.
listen,
like,
I-
it was like a
I've seen
tower.
a couple of pictures shared online of these little girls. Some of them are missing teeth sometimes, but it is very hilarious to see that. But you guys have now made it up to your senior season. You guys have got a senior season for this and a senior season, the two of you, for softball coming up. Has it entered your minds at all yet that this is the last season at Rowan County High School for you?
No.
Yes,
Gets
for
me a
me.
little sad.
Yes.
Viper says no, she wants to avoid that thought at
Yeah.
all costs. Liv and Mahaley says yes, they've thought about it. Well, what does that do to your motivation coming into this year then?
Really just like pouring your heart out all like every single game because, you know, when the season's done, volleyball's done for me at least.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't want to tear up, but
Yeah, that's me. I'm going to make them tear up right off the bat. No, I'm not going to make them do that. So, again, it provides extra motivation for you all. But, again, you guys have been in this sport for so long, it's almost as if you guys have developed into leaders before this season even began. And coming off of last year, did last year fulfill the expectations you had, or did you fall short of those expectations?
we fell short.
Yeah,
We
we
fell
fell
short.
short.
We peaked in like mid of the
Yeah.
season instead of pushing ourselves where we should have. But it's all right. We got this season.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you think about things like that, I talk about that like if somebody gets injured in a sport, you know, if they're a sophomore or junior, like, well, at least it didn't end their careers. And so if last year was not what you guys thought it should have been, you at least have this year as kind of redemption. And sometimes when people get to that situation, it's extra motivation for them. Some people put a little too much pressure on themselves. Do you guys find any extra pressure because of last season, or is it just more motivation?
It's
More
100%
motivation.
more motivation.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have some other very talented players on your team that you're going to bring along with you this year. How is the team began to become cohesive here in these first couple of weeks of practice. And, I know sometimes it's very difficult to get back in the groove when you haven't been on the floor for a while, but we'll start with Piper. Do you feel like the team has gotten very cohesive very quickly, ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel like our team has filled a very connection with each other, much more than previous years. And 7, we're just able to get along much better, and we've been pushing each other very much more this year and working 10 times harder. And I just feel like this year is much more better than the other years because of just getting along with each other, and that helps on the court because getting along with each other is able to push each other more.
And that's very difficult to do sometimes because you guys spend a lot of time together, sister style, siblings. Even if you're not siblings, you guys have been together a lot. You spend a lot of time together. Obviously, there'll be some heated exchanges that come through with that, but are you guys able to come together quickly after those things happen, if there's disagreements, things like that?
This season, 100%.
Well, I know when I look at Mahaley a good bit, and I've talked to Mahaley about this during softball, as the pitcher, the ball's in your hand every single play. Every single play on offense, you've got the ball. Or on defense, sorry. I'll get it right eventually, Coach Perry. You have the ball in your hand every time, and you have to rely on teammates to do what they need to do. Mm-hmm. I've seen sometimes when it doesn't happen, you just never seem to change your attitude. You're always positive with these teammates. You're always upbeat with them. How does that happen with you? How are you able to internalize that stuff?
It was drilled into my head when I was about 9 years old from my dad to not show emotion out on the mound. And it really, correlated over to volleyball or transitioned. Keep a positive attitude. You can only do so much, and showing emotion only brings it down, I feel like.
So I look over here at Olivia. As the setter on this team, obviously communication is number one in volleyball. That's something I learned very quickly.
Absolutely.
If you're not talking 100% of the time on the court, things will go awry. And as a setter, you have to be one that really communicates well with your outside hitters, what are they called, the inside hitters?
Middle.
Middle hitters?
Haley's a middle.
She's a middle. You're mid.
I'm mid.
Mid.
Kids use that term, right? So communication,
Mid.
obviously, Olivia,
I'm
is of massive importance. Is that something that you have to train yourself to do better, or is that something that has come natural to you as far as a setter? Have you been able to communicate with your hitters?
Oh, yeah, I communicate with everybody all the time. When they're hitting, it's very important because if they don't talk to me and I don't talk to them, if I don't ask them what's wrong, if they're not hitting the ball every time, or if they make a mistake, we have to communicate with each other, because if I made a mistake, I'm going to tell Piper or Mahaley or whoever else that I made a mistake.
It's something simple such as, could you set it higher to me? Could you set it lower to me? Can you send it over here to me? Mm-hmm. And that's something, again, not to put stress on you, Olivia, but that's something that can be stressful, to put one right where it needs to be in the wheelhouse, because everybody's different. Everybody's wheelhouse is a different place, right? So you have to be very in tune to who you're going to set the ball to. And you got a lot of hitters this year, right?
Yep.
Not just these two.
Yeah.
We got, who else is a hitter? Paige Blosser. Who else?
Kiera Boatwright.
Lexi
Mitchell. Ella
Keene's a freshman coming up.
Okay.
Joplin Harlan.
Joplin,
Yeah, Ella's very tall, by the way. I've just noticed that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, I went to school with her dad. He's, 6'7"?
No.
6'5"? He felt like 6'7" when I was 5'10" in high school, all right?
Let's knock him down.
Now her brother, on the other hand, probably.
You got two really tall brothers. Man, I wish I'd have gotten some of that in my family. Okay, so we're coming into this season. You guys have gotten all the preseason work out of the way. It's time to go. It's time to start your 2023 season. It is your senior season. What are, for individual goals, let's go from you, Piper, across. What are your individual goals this year for the season?
I would just like to push myself to the most that I can and form the best connection I can with these girls one last time before it's gone.
She's going to make Mahaley cry again. Okay, individual goals for you, Mahaley.
Oh, gosh, I hate individual. I'd rather do the team, but as an individual goal, I broke one of the serving records, I think 1 or 2, my sophomore year, and I would like to re-break that. And I think there's a hitting one that I could possibly get to. So I'd love to be up on that board again.
Well, even if I ask you if that's an individual goal, it does help the team if you do that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll make sure you know
We do
that.
have team
Olivia,
goals, though.
about you?
I really want to focus on our setter-hitter connections this season. So just my connections with the hitters.
There's percentages, right, of like actual sets that work. Assists. See? Why can't you coach and be on the air with me at the same time?
I would love to.
Allie needs a
Just
headset.
put a mic on me while I coach.
Or make
Everyone wants to hear what I say.
Make sure your husband gets fired right before the season starts here so I can take him on the road with me.
No?
All right, never mind.
You know what? Luke will be on the radio.
Okay,
Oh,
I will.
Luke knows everything.
I will take Luke. He's not a big talker yet.
Yes. May not make sense. But he'll
Yeah.
talk to you.
Okay, so we've got the individual goals out of the way. Let's talk about team goals for you guys. Have you guys gotten together and talked about what you guys are trying to accomplish this year? What is number 1 goal, number 2, number 3? Do you have different goals?
I think we said we wanted to win sectionals this year as a team goal.
Yeah.
And
Because every year in the past, we've been right at sectionals, even in the championship, and we've, again, got down on ourselves and played as individuals instead of playing as the 6 on the court, and just fell apart in sectionals when we should have had it.
We need the finish this year.
yes.
That's something I did talk with your coach last year about.
Cardiac kids.
Yes, and I did call you the Cardiac Kids. You guys would get up 2-0, and then 3 sets later, I'd be panicked. I didn't know why, but I was panicked. You guys did win some of those, so that's okay. But you want to win more of them, and you want to win the last ones, is what you're saying. You want to win sections this year. Sectionals, you advance to regionals. Any goals there? The goal I'm looking for is, are you wanting to try to get to the state tournament?
Oh,
this
yeah.
year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Olivia Moorhead said absolutely, and she had her teeth gritted. She's like, I want this so bad.
You have no idea.
Yes, so we'll structure the goals. Number 1 goal is sectional championship, if you can get that. And then that other goal comes in, and then that other goal comes in. Okay, so now that you guys are seniors and you've had day 1 of school, what is possibly, let's just say this, possibly next for each of you after this season is over, after this school year is over? I know that obviously you guys are very talented, so what is the next step? Or do you guys know yet what you want to do after school? I'll start with Piper.
I know.
I think I want to advance in my volleyball career and try playing volleyball somewhere and go for my business degree. And then maybe go to cosmetology school or something after that. But I want to just focus on playing volleyball and my business degree, and I'll see from after that.
How about Miss Mahaley?
Well, this work gets a little bit harder for me with volleyball.
That's why I mentioned it.
Well, so basically, my plan is after this high school year is over, I would like to go play college softball somewhere. I still don't have a school picked out yet. I've got an offer, but I'm not committed anywhere yet. But I want to go to college and play softball, and I want to major in exercise science or kinesiology, and then later become a physical therapist.
Awesome. How about you, Olivia?
Obviously, I'd like to continue volleyball after high school. I want to major in nursing, which might be harder with volleyball and nursing school at the same time, but I'm willing to fight through it.
At least try it if you
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Well, you got a former college volleyball player with you. Have you guys been able to interact with her on that level? Have you asked her questions about what the next level requires?
I
Yeah.
think we have.
Pointing them out now. Can't believe she's throwing them under the bus. Actually, nobody can see who she's pointing. Nobody can see who she's pointing at. They're just looking up like, yeah, no. Ladies, we're going to be with you throughout this season, obviously, on WVRC, on our YouTube channel. Hopefully, I don't sound just absolutely awful this year. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time, but I just learned right now that the specialist is an actual position. The setter
There was one thing
is
to say.
is the person who gets the ball to the person who hits it over the net. Listen, when I grew up, volleyball was bump, set, spike, all right? It's not murder, death, kill like it is nowadays. What is it like? Yeah, you kill and then you maim. Sorry. There's
Pass, set, or assist, spike.
Okay, we did discuss, but I've forgotten already. I need another tutorial before the season starts. Yeah, no two-hand touches.
Finessing the ball, and I told you it's not finessing the ball, it's them
Panicking. What is the one I called a soft touch? It's a dink.
Dink.
When they tip the gas, you call it a dink.
I don't want any of you on this stage right now to go back and watch any of your games or do it on silent and play some music over top of my voice.
I want to now.
Yeah.
Like,
You've never listened to him?
I have a few
Oh, I
times, but I'm
have.
really gonna pay
It makes
attention.
me laugh.
There's
Oh my-
one thing he said and I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
He loves finesse. I always think, oh, she did that with finesse.
So you're saying they missed it at that point?
Doesn't mean they missed it. It was just they said.
It looked like
"I don't know
you
how
meant to
hit the
do it.
ball, so I'm gonna push the ball over.
All I'm saying is it looked like they meant to do everything they've done.
So it looks smooth.
Yeah.
And so I make it sound like they meant to do it.
You make them sound smooth all the time.
Ladies, thank you all so much for coming up here. It's fun to talk to you all anyway off the air, but to get you on the air is even more hilarious, and I really enjoy it. But obviously, yeah, we will be with you guys throughout this season. We're going to cover a lot of your all's matches, home and away, and we look forward to you guys reaching some of those goals that you guys set for yourselves this year. Obviously, sectional tournament would be awesome to take care of if you can get to that point, but it all starts tomorrow at St. Mary's, 7 o'clock, right?
Yep.
And we'll be on the air with pregame coverage for the Lady Raider volleyball team at St. Mary's at about 6:40. Olivia Moorhead, Mahaley Nicholson, and Piper Harlan. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wonderful young ladies. Folks, we're going to continue here after the break. Got to give our sponsor, DW Excavating, a little bit of love. When we come back, John Penna and Coach Paul Burdett in studio.
Yeah, you're good.
Great job, girls.
You did good, girls.
So much fun. Say goodbye to everybody on YouTube.
Very much more.
I don't know what to say.
You did good, girls.
You guys are awesome. I enjoy talking.
You can tell when the panic sets in because you guys start to ramble more. And you're like,
Yes.
yeah.
Don't worry, I'm a rambler too.
I was like,
Yeah. And then we asked
Can you stick? Can you stick around for a while? Okay.
Yes, I listened. I about cried.
Like when he asked me about personal
Probably whenever I was like,
I was like, just go all I can and have a good connection with the girls. I was like, it's
you
something.
guys did good.
Very good. Very good.
It's just like I can't think of some stuff to say, so I'm like.
Well, you're still well spoken.
I stand back here and I just make fun of him the whole time because you don't like to put me on air.
I like to put you on air. You don't like to go on
I
air.
don't like to go on air.
That's the
If
difference.
they win
I feel like if we
sectionals,
were
I'll
able to
go
like
on
just
air.
like how we were talking before, it was fine. But then whenever it's like we know people are watching us, and we're like, oh gosh.
Panic.
I did feel my phone buzzing while I was talking, like text messages. I'm like, I turned mine off.
Your brother was tuning in, by the way.
You get all that.
Right there.
Oh,
Nicholas Moorhead.
Nicholas. It's like Nicholas. All right. Are they done?
Except for Mahaley. I need her to stick around till the show's over because I got to have her record something. Yes, I'm sorry.
how long will it take?
30 more minutes. If you need to go somewhere and come back, we're going to be here till late because we got to record a bunch of ads. So if you need to go somewhere, huh?
Am I the first ad?
Yeah, we'll make sure you get done first.
What's your ad?
Someone on Pop All.
Aww, that's so sweet.
I just hate that I live so far.
I'm sorry.
Ella's the one that's stuck.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Your mom, I told you to text your mom.
Oh, it's my mom's fault. Okay. Good job, girls. I'm proud of you. You guys really did it.
No,
the
you
only
all are
thing
good.
that got me was when Piper said very much more, and me and Ella looked at each other. I started making
Throw it
fun of
Piper under the bus.
That's the only time that you guys, I was like, good job, Piper. And I'm not even an English teacher,
I
so.
don't like talking in front of classrooms. I don't like talking in front of
So you're saying you don't want to be a teacher someday?
All right, Ella and I are gonna sit out here.
Okay.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you all. Just an absolutely wonderful time talking with the senior captains from the Lady Raider volleyball team, Olivia Moorhead, Mahaley Nicholson, and Piper Harlan. Those young ladies have worked extremely hard at their craft, be it volleyball, softball, school, whatever they do, they like to excel. They are now the captains of the squad, and their first match gets underway tomorrow evening, as we mentioned, as the Lady Raiders travel to St. Mary's High School for a 7 p.m. dual match. We'll be there with pregame coverage on our YouTube channel at around 6:45 p.m. Very excited to bring the next group of individuals in studio. Wherever they are outside, they need to get themselves in here because we want to talk about the upcoming football season. Again, Roane County coming off the historic season last year, going undefeated in the regular season for the first time in school history, and looking to obviously follow up on that tremendous season with more if they can get to it. Just a couple of notes here for the Roane County sports season in the fall. The golf team is underway. They've had a couple of decent finishes, finishing runner-up and finishing fourth in a couple of matches. And most recently they've had some struggles, but that's okay. Still early in the season, and as always, we will eventually be able to bring the golf team in studio once the regional tournament or state tournament is over, depending on where Roane County ends up. Hate to announce this, unfortunately, but the 2023 version of the Roane County High School soccer team will not be this year. Did not have enough players, unfortunately, this year to have a season. So, unfortunately, that's just one of those things that in a small community, you sometimes don't get it. Sometimes you do. But we hope that they are able to get that back next season. And, of course, not a lot of other things going on in sports just yet. A lot of the seasons will be kicking off next weekend, next week, the week following. And once we start to get some actual games and matches in, we'll start to be able to talk about high school, middle school, midget league action, everything we really enjoy talking about throughout the fall season here at the Raider Review. Very happy to be joined in studio. We got something new this year, guys. Unfortunately for you, we have to wear headsets. We're used to that, John Penna. Yeah, just put any of them on. They're all turned on. We have to have headsets and microphones because I'm a problem solver, John Penna. I'm a problem solver. And for the last 2 years, we have been using a wireless Rode mic for this show.
Yes.
And I could not tell you how many times people message and say, can't hear you, can't hear you, can't hear you. And so guess what? I'm taking care of that this year. I'm setting up all of our equipment. We all have headsets on, and we're all going to be able to be heard on our YouTube channel. And both of you got to lean into your mics so we can be heard on the radio. What do you think about that?
So we're still talking into this mic?
Yeah, you still got to talk in the mic, too.
Okay.
We are sacrificing for the good of the broadcast. That is what
As we've done.
That is what we are doing. You'd think Coach Burdett, after all these years of wearing a headset, would know how to wear one. Hey, flip that around there, buddy.
I think it's his first time.
I think it is with these.
Is it wrong?
It's on backwards. No big deal, though.
No.
It's working.
You're wrong. It's on right.
You have to have it on the right side? Is that what you're saying? That's odd.
Only 20 years worth.
20 years worth of having the microphone part of the headset on the right side? I wouldn't know what to do, John. We've always been on the left.
You can't do it on the left.
Yeah, well, we can.
That's not what normal people do.
Well, John, you and I were talking today, and we've been talking leading up to this season. Obviously, we are excited once again for another season of Raider football. Coming off of last year, you lose, obviously. Very important cogs in the wheel, incredible players who did their part for sure to contribute to the success last year. But what you know and what I know and what Coach Burdett knows and what a lot of people do know as well is we got a lot of talent back and we got a lot of gamers back. We got kids who know how to win football games.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things that every year you lose some guys, man. You lose some talent. And for the past 2 years, I really think that the talent level, you know, across the board has been very big. But then you have some of those guys that are waiting in the wings that you just don't see them on Friday nights unless you're, you know, putting 49 points up in the second quarter against Braxton County with, 11 minutes left to go or something like that. But
I vividly remember watching that broadcast recently.
yeah, that was last night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of talent on this team, a lot of kids that have played football for a long time. and it's exciting, man. It's exciting to see these guys get their opportunity because you'll have a lot of these guys back for, not guys will be here this season, but they'll also be back next season as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing this group put their stamp on a season and step up and become leaders.
Well, Coach Paul Burdette's, I remember when we put the 2022 season on our Facebook page a few weeks ago, and I was listening to the intro for the first game of the season, and it scarcely is possible in my head that coming into last year, I had you at 55 and 55, right on the cusp, and you are now 66 and 56 for your career. That's a lot of football games you've been coaching already. It just seems like yesterday we got this whole thing rolling, but now it has been some time. We're all a little grayer, a little rounder around the waist. But
You use that term little lightly, I guess.
well, obviously, 2 years ago was successful. Leading into last year, I think you knew that last year could be extremely special, but you never know until you do it. Until you play each game, and that's what you guys do is one at a time. You refuse to talk about the following week ever, even though we do all the time. You keep it focused solely on the game in front of you, and your team last year resembled that statement. They did not and would not look ahead any games, even though we knew how talented they were, we knew how focused they could be and how they were, and we knew that on paper they were going to be heavily favored in many of those games. None of that matters until you play the game between the white lines, and they performed unbelievably throughout the year underneath that little bit of pressure.
Yeah, but you got, the majority of last year's team, much like this year's team, honestly, but the majority of last year's team were huge contributors in 21. They had 2 playoff games under their belt. They had a huge victory in a playoff game in Nicholas County. After giving up probably our most disappointing loss at Doddridge that year. Even though we lost to Lincoln County early, the loss at Doddridge was probably the most disappointing because it was hyped up all week long as this is a game, this is a game. And I really felt like even myself, I think I put it out there too much to the guys. And the thing about in 21 is we hadn't been on the big stage yet. We just hadn't, because with that group of kids, 19, all those guys were pretty young, and we were in some good games, but it wasn't the big light games. And then, of course, COVID was a disaster all the way around, whether it be injuries or just dealing with that period. But so I really felt like, and I probably sat here and said the exact same thing this time last year, but I felt like we just made the game too big. And I learned from that mistake. I think our guys learned from that mistake, and we got the huge win at Nicholas County, which really set the stage for what we did the next week at Independence. And we were just hairs away from pulling a major upset there. But those guys were experienced, and they knew what it was like to be in a big game, and it didn't rattle them. And they came into the season with that type of confidence. They had worked so hard in the offseason to put themselves in a position to be successful last year. And, yeah, I mean, if I was being honest with you and I would actually say something about it last year, I would have probably said, yeah, maybe there's a chance of being undefeated. But, as a coach, I would never step out on that limb just because it's a virtual suicide.
It's a death nail if you try that.
So you don't do that, and I never will. But we knew the chance for major success was there, but we had to take it one game at a time, just like we talked about. And what those guys were capable, or what those guys were able to accomplish last year, is amazing. I mean, for our little community, it had been 30 years, and they were focused. They were tight. They were brothers, and they just wanted to go out and play football every Friday night, and they did a great job of it. And we just hairs short in the final game last year. So
we had a dislocated elbow that may have changed significantly the outcome of that North Marion game.
That was part for sure.
But in the midst of all that, you did mention how nice it was for the first time in 30 years to feel that community support, to feel that love. And it didn't happen just on its own. It was very organic, and there was a lot of people who really got involved to put it out there and get people to just something to remind people that you are a part of this thing. Right. And it can be fun if you get involved in really cheering this team on, and it developed a lot of pride in our county once again. And I'm hoping, against all hope, that continues no matter what. I'm hoping that coming into this year, people don't think, well, that was the year. There are a lot of gamers coming back on this team. You talked about guys who have won a lot of games, guys who have been in fires, guys who know how to win games in tense situations. Those youngsters that followed those seniors along last year, they did very much the same thing. They've been in the fire a good bit, and they continue to develop over the year. And you're going to have to rely on a lot of those guys who are, again, those sophomores and juniors. There's some seniors now from that group as well. But you've got a lot of talent coming back this year, and they know what is required.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's hard to. You can't say it's about the same as it was last year because they're different kids. They're different mindsets. But we returned a lot of starters from last year's team, and you could look at it two different ways. You only return 4 seniors, and you could say, well, it's not very good, but you could also say, that's really good for the future, But all 4 of those guys play a instrumental role in our team. Jacob Bunner's been a starter now for 3.5 years. He was in the fire in 21. He's in the fire in 22, and he's going to be in the fire in 23.
He got in the fire a little bit in 20 as well.
Yeah, it was
that Braxton County game. It was
it's kind of a coming out party.
Yikes!
For him. Yeah. So, that stuff's not new to him. Of course, Brandon Richardson, senior, came in last year and played a really big role for us on both sides of the ball, but last year especially on defense, just was an absolute difference maker for us on the defense side of the ball. And that just got better and better as the year went on, and had some big plays on offense as well. And of course, Sawyer Hunt, who has really impressed coaches in the off season and preseason. He's grown, his body's grown, and I knew when Sawyer was a freshman, them Hunt boys came in. Not the biggest, but they're tough as nails and just do whatever you ask them to do. And I told Saul, I said, be patient. I said, by the time you're a senior, you're going to be right where you need to be. And, man.
I think I saw the maturation of Hunt last year defensively in the secondary. He saved his, or didn't save it, but he played his best football defensively last year in the final 3 games of the season.
Yep. Saul, he's just grown each and every game, and huge, and even more of a difference between last year and this year, offensively and defensively. We made a move with him. He moved from cornerback into backer. Sometimes he'll be in the box as a stack backer, and when he is, man, he is downhill playing hard. And so he's been really impressive, especially on that side of the ball, but on the offensive side of the ball as well. So we love the growth that Saul has had in the offseason and his leadership abilities. Andy Jetton moves from corner to defensive end. Andy's a big, strong kid. He's lanky. He's your typical defensive end build. He's smart. He's coachable, and he's doing a really good job there. And will only get better as he continues to get more reps in that new position for him. And jeez, I'm drawing a blank on my last guy, but I shouldn't be.
Well, that was 4 seniors.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm drawing a blank.
He's in preseason mode for sure. You mentioned a couple of those seniors. Obviously, I think that Andy Jetton will be important, replacing one of the two seniors from last year, and Ori May and Matthew Schaefer, who both were very, very good on the one side. So he'll have to step up and play that very, very important role. You're going to be moving. We lost, of course, one of the better middle linebackers we've seen at Roane County High School in Colton Paxton. But Lane Watson in the offseason has just changed himself. His body is different. He is bigger, stronger, faster. He's a difference maker. You guys are going to move him from the secondary into that middle backer position. You've got to replace some other linebackers and 2,000-yard rushers. That means Brandon Richardson is going to have to play a bigger role in the backfield this year. And again, he did not play offense for many years in Texas. So he got his feet wet a little bit last year, and now you guys are putting a little bit more on him. It's nice, though, I think, to have that complimentary back in Shea Harper.
Yeah, so, we went from Skyler and Breyer for the last 2 years to this year, at the halfback positions or wingback position, you got Shea and you got Brandon, and both those guys are explosive, owning their own individual way, I guess you could say. Shea's just got a natural knack of running the ball. He moves his body well. He's a long, lanky runner. Shea's fastest once he gets past 15 yards. A lot of backs have the early burst and then it kind of falls off. Shea's got good speed to 15 and then it excels tremendously.
Yes.
And Brandon is the flip of that. Brandon from 0 to 20 is electric, but he's got good speed, breakaway speed as well. But two totally different backs, but carry the ball both extremely well. But then you add in two others with that, number one being Clay Walker, who has, in the offseason, guys, and we're talking about transforming bodies.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd seen Clay Walker as a sophomore and you see Clay Walker as a junior, you would understand the amount of time and the effort and the dedication that he's put in to the offseason and getting himself to where he is today.
Well, you mentioned Sawyer Hunt being patient with his body. Clay, about as tall as he's going to get.
Yeah, he's reached the limit on that, I'm afraid. But that's okay.
He's taller than Doug.
But that heart never stops growing.
He's got a couple hairs on Doug, yeah.
That heart never stops growing, and that provides that impetus for that work ethic that he absolutely has and possesses in droves, and that's what he's done.
And, for the way that Clay's built, it's hard to tackle. He's low to the ground, he's thick, he's strong, and he's got pretty good speed. So add him in that mix, and then you throw Sawyer in there. Sawyer will get some carries this year, and he's proven in the preseason here that, he's capable of running strong, catching the ball out of the backfield, catching the ball in the receiver position. So, those four guys handling the ball, and then you got to throw in Lane Watson.
He's going to be your heavy package back, correct?
Lane will see the ball in his hands handed off, but yeah, when we go heavy, he's the Colton Paxton from last year.
Somebody told me, now I haven't had a chance to see it because I've been daggone busy both scrimmages. I'm so sick of that. But that's neither here nor there. That he's lighting people up as a lead blocker without even touching the ball.
Lane likes to hit people. You can say that confidently. Lane likes to hit people, and I like to watch Lane hit people. I'm not sure that people like for Lane to hit him, but he's done a really good job. He's playing tight end, he's playing power back, he's playing H back, he's playing split end, he's playing slot. He's going to be everywhere, and people's got to honor him and figure out where he's going to be, and he's got to be a focus as well as everybody else for opposing defenses. And that's just talking about the running game. You get in the passing game, you add Lane into that, which we've seen Lane in the past and what he's able to do in the passing game. You add Coben Cottrell into that. Coben's another guy who has worked so hard in the offseason. He played basketball in the winter, ran track in the spring, and really committed himself. Wasn't able to get to the weight room with us because of practice, but when his practices was done, was going to the hospital, getting these lifts in. Coben's big, Coben's strong, and Coben's going to be another force in the passing game for us. Brandon's in the passing game. Saul's in the passing game. Shea can be in the passing game. We just you got weapons out there, and traditionally, I guess you could say we have not done a lot of passing. We can.
Yep.
And when we want to, we will. And I think you'll probably see a little bit more of that this year, just because I think, number one, you talk about passing. It's hard to talk about passing without your quarterback.
Yeah.
Jacob has grown, obviously, physically since last year, but the maturation between freshman and sophomore year, and the plan last year, guys, was to do just what we did.
Yeah.
And that was take the pressure off of Jacob. I wanted him to hand the ball off to those 4 running backs, and every now and then I want him to be able to get a play-action pass in. His completion percentage was very high last year.
Up around 81% at one point late in the year.
Yeah, it was even late. Yeah, that was late in the season.
Very, very high. And I know that was on limited throws, but they were throws that mattered, and they were big ones when we needed it. So Jacob's more comfortable, and I'm more comfortable putting pressure on him. And he's done a good job. I think I felt like he made some really good moves in the game or the scrimmage against Wirt. I think he made some really good decisions with the ball. And Jacob's only going to get better. Just remember, Jacob's a sophomore.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 seasons basically to go. So he will only continue to get better. But you've got to have the quarterback to make that passing game work and to make everybody else kind of do what they're doing. So, but none of that happens without the guys up front.
And that's what I wanted to hit on. Obviously now, I know, John, you and I have talked about the unknown of the offensive line. It's not as if you have nobodies there. You still have 2 starters returning from last year's team. But, John, I know that you were very closely involved for a couple years helping coach. The O-line was one of those things that you look at, and it's the truth in the way this system runs, that if they're not doing their job, then it doesn't matter how many talented backs and things you have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as a running back, you like to see those big guys up front doing what they're supposed to do. And, a couple younger guys, a couple sophomores coming in, but these guys are going to work. I mean, it's just what they do. You're talking about Colton Elliott, which he's playing center. You got Hogan Greathouse, which everybody knows that Greathouse name, and then Tyson Freeland as well. And then I think Richard Greathouse is probably going to be another one of those guys for you. Great size on Richard. I mean, great size across the board. Now, Colton Elliott still has some time to grow, because if you look at the kid's feet, my gosh, he's going to be 6.
Look at his hands.
Yeah, his feet and his hands, 6'9".
Well, that's good for a center to have big hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So, didn't have a whole ton of varsity action, but these guys are gamers, man, and they've been working hard in the offseason throughout.
Well, Coach, let's ask you then. Your evaluation in just 2 scrimmages of the offensive line play, a couple of those young men are raw and haven't played varsity football. How have they meshed over the first couple of scrimmages? Is that something that you were surprised by, excited by, concerned by? What's the evaluation after the first couple scrimmages?
Well, I think, obviously coming in, we knew that was the biggest question mark on offense, because that's where we lost the most at. We'd seen Shea run. We knew what Clay was capable of. We knew what Brandon was capable of. He ran the ball. But we didn't know what was going to be in front of him. We knew that those guys were there. How were they going to work? How were they going to develop? All those guys, had great attendance in the weight room in the off season, and really worked to get bigger and get stronger.
It helps to know that there's positions available if you want to work and get it.
Sure, and so we had a battle. There was a good battle going on. John mentioned Richard, and Richard and Hogan and Tyson were all working really hard for that guard and tackle spot. And we kind of, Colton just kind of stepped in at the center position. It's kind of his natural position, and we didn't. I mean, he could play guard or play tackle, and Hogan can play center. But we thought, you know what, if we can shore that position and focus on these 2, and they was a heck of a battle. Even going into the Warren scrimmage, it was still uncertain. But, going into Friday night, it's going to be Colton at center and Hogan at guard and Tyson at the other tackle. And those guys have done a pretty good job in the 2 scrimmages. The group as a whole has done a pretty good job. And scrimmages are a really crazy entity because you don't get a chance to game plan or understand, hey, they're going to run this defense against us and this is the front we're going to be blocking. You just got to kind of guess, I think, judging by last year, that's what we're going to see.
Unless you're St. Mary's, right, Coach?
Well, yeah. So, for what they've been given, I feel like they've done a good job, and it hasn't always been perfect, and it's not expected to be right now. What we look for the most is effort and physicality, and those guys have done a good job with that. When it comes to execution, they've done fine, and the ones that they've missed on have been little misses, so it's okay. We look forward to seeing those guys continue to grow each and every week, and again, that's another thing with that position is the more reps you have, the more comfortable you get, the more comfortable and understanding you get with each and every play. It's not like we change our playbook every week.
Yeah.
It's pretty much cut and dry what it's going to be. So those guys are going to get tons of reps, and Richards is a 6th man, and he's ready to go when that time comes. And Richards only going to get better. And he's
just a sophomore.
Just a sophomore. But if we're being honest, 4 of those kids should be – all 4 of them should be sophomores. But
yeah, Freeland.
Unfortunately, Freeland's a junior and a sophomore age. So
Yeah.
Well,
thanks a lot, Tina.
Yeah, Tina said, "Go on, get."
I hope Tina's listening.
I'm done with you. Get out of here.
Well, you got that youth, and then you've got the 2, we will call them veterans now, in Bunner and Jet, that can anchor this. Do those young guys look up to those guys right now and kind of rely on them for some, may not be advice, may just be watching them and how they perform?
Yeah, those guys they work together a lot, especially in the preseason and in the summertime drills. They're together tons and tons and tons. And so, yeah, I mean, they're watching those 2 guys and understanding what it takes to be successful. And but honestly, when you put your hand on the ground Friday night, it's you and the guy to your right or you and the guy to your left. So they don't have a lot of correspondence with Jet and Freeland or Jet and Bunner on the other side because they're doing their own gig over there, So you really, when it comes down to it, you got a couple sets of teams across the field on the offensive line for the way we do things. You got guard and tackle on the right, you got guard and center on the right, then you got center and guard on the left, and you got guard and tackle on the left. And depending on what the scheme is and how the plays run, those guys are working combo blocks and doubling and climbing and doing that type of thing. So it's a lot of getting used to each other and understanding the feel of when a guy's coming off and when I got to take over. So playing the line is a lot more complicated than what people think it is. It's not just put your hand in the ground and go –
Go block the guy in front of you. Well, there's guys not
put your elbows out and run at the guy. Those days are gone. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
We've got some schemes that get a little bit complicated, but we got some schemes that are really simple too, and they're some of our best plays. And so I'm excited to see their development. And the best thing about it is when next year rolls around, and I'm not looking for next year. We got all this year still, but when next year rolls around, you return 4 of those 5 guys.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Well, Coach, we talk about offense so much, and obviously the statistics bore it out last year, 39 points per game, top 3 in the state of West Virginia. But that could not be overshadowed by the defensive effort last year. 5 shutouts, averaged number 2 in the state of West Virginia in Class AA in points per game given up. That was a monumental defensive team last year. The scheme remains the same. And you've plugged and played some of these guys who are into different positions, taking care of the seniors that we lost from last year. You still have a very, very talented defense coming into this season.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier about losing Colton Paxton, which is a huge deal, but we also lost 2 more of the 4 starting linebackers. So, linebacker was
little guys named Briar Bigler and Skylar Delk.
Yeah. Yep. So
remember
linebacker
those
was a big concern, as was the offensive line. On the offensive side, you flipped it around to the linebacker on the defensive side, and believe me when I tell you that probably sometime around Saturday afternoon after the North Marion game last year, Coach Peary and I was probably talking about linemen and linebackers.
Yeah.
I would have promise. And so we had some ideas and we settled in on what we thought was probably the best move, and the best move was, like you guys said earlier, was moving Lane from corner into the middle backer with Clay. And Clay's comfortable there. Clay got a lot of reps at linebacker last year. But with what he's done in the offseason, as we talked on offense, he's more than ready to be that starting linebacker now at the varsity level, and he's proved it in the first 2 games.
Always has been a very solid tackler.
Yeah, and he's got a nose for the ball. He understands the reads. Lane as well. The thing with Lane is just comfortable.
Yeah.
And he's getting there. There's no doubt. All right, but when he's played secondary or outside of the box, for the last few years, and so getting back in there and getting in that mix and having to read linemen and find the ball and take the right angle and take a block on with the correct shoulder, all that stuff matters. And again, people don't really understand the complications of linebacker other than just go tackle the guy with the ball. It's a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
But Clay and Lane in the middle, it's kind of like, we're kind of getting back to the point to where we were last year with Colton and Skylar in the middle and the way those guys play together. And they did that for 2 years. Clay and Lane's going to have 2 years. And the more reps, it's like a broken record, guys. The more reps, the more comfortable, the more knowledgeable you get, the more you understand, the quicker you see it, the quicker you read it, the quicker you react. All that comes. And right now, if there is on either any play a lack of reads or a lack of finding the ball, there is no lack of effort and there is no lack of physicality, and that makes up for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that can cover for a lot of things.
And that's talking about the 2 inside backers. Now Shay's a constant still in the linebackers from last year, the only constant really as far as starters go. But Shay's kind of a hybrid guy out there. I mean, he can play in the box, but as we all know, Shay's kind of a lockdown defender when it comes to the pass game. What did he have, 6-7 interceptions last year?
A lot, whatever it was.
Probably should have been more than probably should have been more than second team all state.
Yeah,
but that's out of my hands. But Sawyer moves from corner to linebacker. And, I talked earlier about Sawyer's physicality and his ability to come up and stove up plays. Wirt County's brothers, I'm assuming they're twins.
Yeah.
Is that right, John?
Yeah, Chase and Channing.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're all right.
I don't know if anybody knows that.
Yeah.
And I told our guys.
I think one of them's an all-stater.
Yeah. Well, so I'm talking about, but that's fine on offense. I'm talking about the defensive side of the ball. They're pretty good there, too.
Oh, yeah, they tackle well.
Yeah. So, but when you put those guys together in the backfield, they come downhill really hard. And I could show you a clip from last Friday night where Sawyer took on the bigger of the 2 low boys, and he landed on the back of his head first. Saul just blew it up. And that's what Saul brings to the linebackers. That's the stuff that Begler would do when he came in the box last year. And Saul's stepping right in and taking care of business and doing that stuff good. So I really feel like we're solid at linebacker. You jump up to the front, and typically that's where you start, but we started at linebacker.
Yeah.
Coben is at defensive end. I talked about Coben's growth in the offseason. I will double that growth not only physically but mentally for the game of football. Last year was Coben's first time ever playing football, so everything was brand new, and everything went really, really fast.
Yes.
and it got slower for him as the season went on. But it's so hard to teach and get understanding when the ball snapped and it looks like everybody's going in 100 different directions. That's really slowed down for Coben this year. He's understanding the teaching so much better. He's played technique defensive end in the first 2 games. Coben's big, he's strong, he's hard to move, and it's kind of like putting a defensive lineman at defensive end. I mean, he's 6'2", 6'3", weighs about 215. Pretty hard to move.
Yeah,
super athletic
and got good speed. So Coben's going to do great things at defensive end this year. Flop it to the other side. Andy Jetton, talked about Andy a little bit ago. Moved from corner to defensive end. Made that move after the summer. We don't face a lot of passing teams. We do some, but not a lot. And I really felt like that we were wasting Andy at corner with his size and his ability.
Yeah.
And but and that's the way I approached it with Andy. I said, you can be involved in every play at defensive end, or you can have your back turned to the play almost every play at corner.
Yeah.
And you're a senior. It's time. Let's get in there and get after it. And he's done a good job, and he'll continue to do a good job. And again, one of those positions and one of those guys that will only get better as we continue to go, and he gets comfortable in that position and understands what's going on. Jump to the interior.
Some beef.
Yeah, you got that right. Jacob Bunner, guys. Listen. I've been at this a long time. I hate to say that, but it's true.
John's cut your hair. He knows.
Jacob's as strong as any football player I've ever had, hands down. Now I may have some that pound for pound would have equaled the strength, but as far as overall complete, he's strong.
Yeah.
When he puts his hand on the ground and he goes forward, it's going to take a lot of guys to stop him. And that's what Bunn brings to the interior of our line is just brute strength. And if somebody will make him mad early, maybe it has to be me. I'm not sure. But if somebody makes him mad,
somebody comes in the locker room, Burdett smacking him around.
I feel sorry for the guy across from him for the rest of the night because he doesn't get unmad very fast.
I'll text him a couple times right before you guys get off the bus because there's some nicknames I've given him over the years that he doesn't like.
He dislikes thoroughly.
But then you flip it to the other side with Jet, and you really got a polar opposite. Now you still got the size. Noah's no small guy by any stretch.
He's a meatball.
Jacob's 280. Noah's probably 250, I would say. But Noah's got a different move. Noah, I remember going, I think it was COVID year because I was sitting on the tailgate of my truck. It may not have been COVID year, but I watched Noah play in 8th grade, and you guys were playing Ripley. Was that COVID year, John?
No.
It was 19.
Well, it would have been okay if it was.
It was
if it was at home, it'd have been COVID year.
So that was 20.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
21, 20, yeah, because he's a junior.
Yeah.
So I sat on the tailgate of my truck over by Southern States, and Noah was playing defensive end left. As you're looking at from the defense to the offense, he was playing left defensive end. And I remember Ripley running tosses to the opposite side of the field, and I remember watching Noah run it down from the back and make tackles.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you take that athleticism and you put it at defensive tackle. His speed off the ball,
he's always had good hand moves to swims and
technical with his hands.
able to move guys just with arm moves and using that.
He's just hard to block.
Yeah.
He's just hard to block, and he in both scrimmages he's made plays in the backfield, been there ready when the ball carrier showed up. So so you got those two guys in the middle anchoring all that stuff. You jump to the secondary, a lot of familiar faces back there. Jacob Greathouse, who played some safety last year, we really did our best to keep him off the field on defense.
He made plays, though, when he was there.
Oh, he had two
picks.
2 picks in the first game.
Yeah.
So he goes to corner this year. I'll be honest with you, there's a battle at the other corner right now, a big battle. You have sophomore.
Cooper.
Come on, you guys make me think of too many names.
I'm
tonight.
sorry, Coach.
Cooper Greathouse. You got Chad Blosser and Brody Proctor, freshman, battling it out for the right side corner, I guess. And those guys, one of those guys are going to start Friday night. Does that mean that guy will start next Friday night? Nope, because I see that battle continuing as we move forward. And maybe all three of those guys get playing time at that position.
Yeah.
You know, it's too early to tell, or maybe somebody says, hey, this is mine, and they get it and go with it. And if that happens, then that's fine too. But we've got to get something solidified there, and I know those guys with competition, that will happen.
Yeah.
And then you step back at safety, and that's where you find Brandon. And we all know what Brandon did from mid-season on last year from the safety position. You know, we played him up in the box some, and then I'm not sure which game he ended up at safety, but I can tell you the first game I know he was at safety, and that was at Doddridge County because he made multiple stops either at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage from safety. And that's when I said, me and Coach Peary decided that we had found a guy to fill that role, and you can never tell a lineman he's responsible for blocking a safety.
Yeah.
Right.
So he, you know, he's like having another linebacker in the box, but he's 15 yards from the ball.
And he's fast enough to get to stay in coverage if he needs to be that guy.
Yeah.
But he comes downhill so hard, like a linebacker.
He's not got too bad a speed.
He's decent.
He's able to move around all right. So, and you know, you said it earlier, Drew. As good as we were offensively last year, we may have actually been better defensively, or equal.
Yeah.
And you know, hats off to Coach Peary, and I don't know if he's listening or not. I know he's watching the ball game between St. Mary's and Doddridge, as maybe I am too, as we're sitting here. But Coach Peary is an aggressive defensive coordinator, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like getting after people. I don't want them to be comfortable, and I don't want them to know where the blitz is coming from next. And when Coach Peary took over, I said, "Hey, man, this is what I want, and I hope that's what you're after." And he said, "Yep," and we've lived by it since, and it's worked for us. You know, and it's not. There's nothing crazy technical about it, but we get after people. And I hope that we continue to do that this year. That's the philosophy. With each game, these guys are only going to continue to get better and more comfortable in their new positions for those that are new. And for those that aren't new, we're just going to continue to get better and better each and every week. So,
well,
excited.
on phase 3 of the ball, we'll touch on it just real quickly here. Obviously, the kick return game and punt return game last year was very solid. You get Brandon back there. He returned a couple of kicks for touchdowns. Shea will be back as well, and you'll have other guys that can fill those roles. One of the things I obviously love is the kicking game. You found someone who you didn't know was going to kick well. Coben Cottrell comes in with a strong leg, and then all of a sudden he says, I'm going to try to do this soccer style, and he's banging field goals from 40 yards out in practice, 45 yards out in practice. So those things, that third phase of the game, is something that I think may be a strength for you guys as well.
Yeah, it's different, honestly, when it comes to kicking. It's kind of been the Achilles heel here for years.
It takes me back.
But yeah, you know, Coben, last year we were at camp and we were working on kickoffs, and he said, "Hey, you mind if I try to kick?" And I said, "Have you ever kicked?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, here." So I showed him how to line up and toe kick, you know, and first couple were so-so, and then he finally got a hold of one, and I said, "Hey, man, that's not bad," you know. And so I got better, and then we get to our bye week last year, and he says, "Hey, Coach, you mind if I try to kick soccer style?" And I said, "Listen, Coben, you've kicked like 4 touchbacks already. I don't want to mess anything up. So you got till Friday or Thursday to hone in on your skills here, because if it ain't where I think it needs to be on Thursday, we're not going to do it."
Yeah.
And he Cassie, he taught himself the soccer style kick, as crazy as that sounds. And, you know, by the end of the year, yeah, I mean, we were attempting 40-yard field goals at practice. He's kicking touchbacks. It's just, he went to camp this summer, consistent inside the 10-yard line on kickoffs, consistent. We lined up.
Beautiful weapon to have.
We lined up at the 37-yard line first week of practice, and I said, I don't need to know that you can make it. I need to know if we have to take a chance that there is a chance. And the first one was slightly short. The second one was slightly right. And the third one went through by about 9 yards.
Shoo.
And I said, there is a chance.
Yeah.
And he has made that kick several times since then. So, yeah, having that weapon is it's crucial, and it's something that we've never been able to rely on.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we get close and we need to revert to field goal, then I feel more than comfortable doing that. And, of course, you talked about the guys in return game. The guy you didn't mention was Lane.
Yeah. I knew I'd forget somebody.
But, yeah, so one of those three, Lane, Shea, or B. Rich, will be back deep on punt or kickoff return. Yeah. You know, depending on what the situation is or if somebody needs a break, whatever it may be. But one of those, or two of those three guys will be back deep when it comes time to return, and I don't mind the ball in any of their hands, honestly.
Well, Coach, obviously we're all very excited about this season. We got a beefed-up schedule, took all of the single-A schools off, have 2 AAAs, double A's. There's some new situations with how the scoring is going to go. There's some differences in the rating system. All very, very exciting for this season, and obviously coming off of last year, everybody extremely motivated to get this season started. 2 more days, and you travel to Shady Spring for the first ever meeting between the two, and it's an opportunity for you guys to get off on a good note to begin the season. Obviously, you guys are working hard to get ready. Do you feel ready for this season? I guess never really totally ready, but do you feel confident enough coming in that you guys are prepared the way you need to?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as preparation goes, yeah. I you know, this week is, and of course today's, I hate the first day of school. It's terrible.
And Walnut Festival.
And I told him today, I said, don't give me the typical first day of school practice because I've had enough of that BS over my career. It wasn't typical. It was on the verge of being close. We had a good practice. Just the energy, and it's first day of school stuff. It's just different schedule, different routine. But yeah, you know, you go so long, and that's the thing about the way sports are today. You know, I had guys text me, fellow coaches texted me on the July 31st and said, "Hey, good luck today. Hope everything goes good." And I'm like, "What? I've been doing it since June. It's not." I thank you. I appreciate it. You know, but we've been practicing since June, and so what happens at this point of the year is you really break up the monotony of, well, we're going to go individual time, and we're going to work on these plays, and then we're going to go inside run, and then we're going to go outside run, and then we're going to go pass game, and then we're going to go team, and then tomorrow we're going to flip it around, and we're going to go individual on defense, and then we're going to go inside run on defense, and while we're doing inside run, they're going to do 7-on-7 work, and then we're going to come together and do team defense, and then we're going to run. So once the season gets here, that monotony gets broke up, and you know the guys got something to focus on, and you got an end point to each week that you're focused on. But preparation wise, yeah, you know these guys hopefully, you know, a big stressor every year, stressing point every year is make sure you study film.
Yeah,
you know, because it's like taking a test every Friday, and that's what made last year's team so different is the amount of time that they put into studying and understanding the defenses. Colton Paxton was like having a coach on the field. by the time he showed up on Monday and Coach Peary handed him the scouting report, he already had that because he had watched that much film over the weekend. So if the guys will watch the film and study, and that'll continue to help them get better each and every week. But I'm excited to go to Shady. We've never played him in a regular season game. Probably haven't faced him, period, since about 1996, I would imagine. If you'll remember, we went down there in 1995. I'm sorry. We went down there in 96 to – 96 to a grid, 95 to a grid-a-rama.
To a grid.
Then we were supposed to have a grid-a-rama here in 96, and it got canceled because of storms. And then we had a grid-a-rama here in 97, but I'm not sure if we faced them in 97 or not, but I know we did in 95.
Yeah.
Did we in 97, John?
97,
we played John Marshall,
Morgantown, and Magnolia.
Okay, so 1995 was the last time we faced Shady on the football field in any capacity. So, and they got a solid team, got a lot of returners back from last year. Got a really good quarterback, big guy, throws the ball well. Got a really good-looking running back. Their offensive line, I think, have come together really good. They got some returners back in those positions, and they got some good receivers. They like to kind of mix it up. They're probably half and half run and pass. And defensively, it appears as if they're going to be in a 43, and they got some aggressive guys on the front, and they got some, in the linebacker and defensive backfield. They got some players back there too. So it'll be a good matchup, and it'll be a good test for us out of the gates here Friday night, and kind of get down there and see what we're made of and what we're capable of doing with this new group of Raiders. But I'm excited. Really feel like last week with Coach Hick and his guys was a really good tune-up. A really, really physical scrimmage. We knew we'd done something when we stepped off the field Friday night.
Yeah.
And that's good because that's what you're after in your second scrimmage. You want to see that physicality. You want to see that strain, and we were able to get that Friday night. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a new year. It's a new chapter. It's a new group of guys, but the goals are the same.
Yep.
And I was proud of them for doing that. Our goals continue to be 1-0, which is the most important one. And we put state championship back on the board again for the second year in a row. So they believe it's possible, and that's step number one, because I promise you, I've been here for all but 8 years of it.
Yep.
Again. And that's only the second time that's ever been put on the board. I can remember the first time we put playoffs on the board as a goal, and the first time we started talking about playoffs. So we're excited, and I hope the guys are excited. I hope our community is excited. Once we get this first game over with, and I'm not looking past anything, I'm just giving you the future, we're home for 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get some good crowds, and don't let the construction and the stuff deter you. They will bring you up and drop you off at the concession stand. So we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
As many people we can get to Shady, let's get to Shady and support these guys. We're ready. Well, we'll be ready after.
We'll be ready after tomorrow. 48 hours away from opening the 2023 Roane County High School football season. Coach Burdett, thank you again for joining us here tonight. So excited for Friday night football coming up once again on WVRC as well. And we don't have a lot to talk about as far as sports are concerned here this week. Obviously, tomorrow it is Roane County Lady Raider Volleyball. Will be on YouTube for that one. That's a 7 p.m. duel versus St. Mary's. And then Friday night football pregame begins at 6:30 down at Shady Spring. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. John Penna, final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to know what the weather's going to be like on Friday night.
Absolutely. That's why we give him the hat. Wow. Coach Paul Burdett is now meteorologist Paul Burdett. What's the weather going to be like, buddy?
He did forget.
I know he did.
I did, totally.
I knew it. Hey, it's going to be warm. But the best thing about the field at Shady Springs is the sun is on the field until there isn't any sun. So it'll be as warm as possible for as long as possible.
No problems about that.
That's great.
There's a chance for some storms that may cool it down, but I think they kind of backed it off. But it is supposed to be a little cooler down there than it is at home. So, but it doesn't matter. We're going to play a football game. We need as much support as we can get.
Absolutely, folks. I want to thank our senior captains from Roane County's volleyball team, Olivia Moorhead, Mahaley Nicholson, Piper Harlan. Thanks to Coach Peary for bringing those girls up for the first show. Thanks to John Penna and Coach Paul Burdett. And we are out here for tonight. Remember, join us for Rome County High School football this coming Friday night at Shady Springs High School. Okay, stop recording.